let's go to the magic of Zoom and say hello to TJ Dillashaw. There he is. TJ, how are you?
Doing good, man. How about you?
Long time no speak. I like the beard, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't look so young, I guess, with it. I'm getting old, so it's got time to look the part.
Yes, I like it very much. So, like I said, a lot to talk to you about. First things first, how are you feeling? You had the knee surgery, right?
Yeah, I had knee surgery, 9 weeks ago? I think almost going on 10 weeks. Starting to feel a lot better. I was on crutches for 5, so it's, a little unfortunate. But because of what I tore, I had to be pretty careful with coming back and getting off the crutches and stuff. So, yeah, it was a super unfortunate situation. I mean, I tore everything but my ACL on my knee. I tore my LCL,
Damn.
my medial, my medial and my lateral meniscus, as well as my PCL.
Wow. And that was in the fight, right?
That was the last 10 seconds of the first round when Corey tried scrambling up to his feet. So he was going for a heel hook, never had the heel hook. I started landing some big ground and pound. So he pushed off with his legs to stand up. And as he threw me backwards, I tried to stay on top. And my knee was in that 50-50 position, bent outwards sideways. And that's where the LCL and everything just exploded up the side. I mean, it was so loud. I'm surprised. I mean, he didn't hear it. I mean, he might have. I don't know. It was really loud and pretty painful, to be honest.
How did you fight 20 more minutes with that?
Just straight grit and will. And, I'm coming back off 2 years, and that's not the way I wanted that fight to end, So I just pushed through it, man. I mean, that's kind of why I came out. When I watch it now, I came out so flat-footed that second round because, I mean, I remember sitting down in the corner and the first thing I say was my knee's fucked, and they blurted it out because I cussed and it was on ESPN. But, they wanted to ice it and stuff, but there was no point of doing so. I was real worried about it coming out in the second round. So I had less footwork, was a little flat-footed, and I'd say that was Corey's best round.
At any point, did the pain get to be too much? Did you think man, I can't do this. We're in the third round here. I got 2 more rounds of this. That's absurd. Most guys tear their, all that stuff. I mean, they're on the court, they're on the field, they're on the mat crying. I mean, and understandably so. Did you ever think of that?
There's a point in the second round where I took Corey's back and I threw my hooks in. Taking his back and putting my legs in. And when I put my legs in, it popped completely back out again. And I actually I was in the best situation you could be in, and I had to completely bail out and push off of him because my knee popped back out of socket. And that was probably when I felt the most pain. It obviously hurt when it happened, but when it popped out again the second time, it hurt really bad. And from there on out, from the rest of the fight, I kind of had to do what I could to not let it, because your LCL is what keeps your knee in socket kind of. And so after that happened, I kind of did whatever I could to not let that happen again. So when I would take his back, it was the whole reason why I wasn't really finishing my takedowns, because I couldn't lift, I couldn't do my trips. A lot of things that I wasn't unfortunately able to do.
And you couldn't see as well out of one eye?
Yeah, man. I mean, I had a gnarly that cut reopened, obviously a different direction, even a worse direction. I wish it would have opened. Actually, they probably it's crazy they didn't stop it. I really owe Tate a huge thank you because he did a great job, the cut man, of closing it up at the end of each round. And so the first minute of every round, it was good. After the second round, I could see, but because of the way the cut went, it went vertically. You can probably still see the scar.
Yeah.
It went vertical this way, so it was going straight down into my tear duct. And so all that blood that was coming out was just going straight into my eye. And I had to completely lie and say that I could see.
Wow. And that's your right eye. I mean, so you're dealing with the knee, you're dealing with the eye. By the time the fight is over, before they reach, the end of the fight, the scorecards are read. Do you think you have won this fight, or are you preparing yourself for defeat?
No, I knew it was a close fight, but I figured I won 3 rounds when I was going into it, because I knew that Corey did his best damage in the second round and had another good, pretty close round with me. But the thing about this is a sport, right? So yeah, I definitely got banged up. One of the knees is my fault. The eye was a cut that I already previously had, but that doesn't matter, right? Going into the fight, it doesn't matter. So, but he had his best rounds, his biggest punches, and dropped me. Was in the same round, so he won those rounds, and I knew that going into it. I talked to Dwayne as soon as the fight was over. I was like, I won that, right? He's like, yeah, you got it. I was like, cool. And so going into, but I was still nervous because going into that decision, I knew it was a very close fight, and I've been into some fights that went to the judges that I don't agree with, right? And so, yeah, you're always nervous going to that decision, but I felt like I did enough, And then afterwards, I went back and watched the fight, and I actually think I won 4 rounds. I mean, I might be being a little biased, but when you actually look at the control and what was done, I mean, most of those rounds he spent his face against the cage, you know. And if I would have had 2 healthy legs, I mean, that fight would have been completely different. I mean, I don't think he would have made it out of the fight, actually.
Much was made of the fact that you guys trained together back in the day. Vastly improved fighter after fighting him. Like, do you think he improved a lot since the days of you guys training together?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say so much his skills, right? I'd say more of his mentality and his belief, right? I knew Corey was, I mean, back when I was training out there, I was using him for my Dominic Cruz fight because his motion was so good and his trickery was really, really well. He's always like the best training partner I had out there, and he wasn't even on the radar of the UFC. And I was like, man, we got to get this guy in the UFC. Like, he's legit, you know? But I didn't think that he had like the grit or the belief in himself yet, and he's coming into that. So look, man, I wish him all the best, and it's awesome that he's getting a title shot. I mean, I'm unfortunately hurt and I can't step in there, so why not let it be him? I mean, he's a great opponent.
And I want to ask you about that title fight in a second. I had Corey on the show on Monday, asked him about your injury. I just want to play you a quick clip and get your response, okay?
Cool.
All right, here's Corey.
Yeah.
Could you tell that he was having trouble seeing?
He was blinking a little bit, man. I don't know. The guy has a lot of excuses coming off of a win. You know, like I've heard him talk about his leg. I've heard him talk about his eye. And it's like, if you don't want to have a fight where you can't see and you have 2 fair limbs, then like, don't get your leg broken and don't get your eye punched. You know, like, don't make an excuse about it.
What do you think of that, TJ? Excuses or facts?
I mean, it is the fight game, right? That is a reality. And that knee was healthy. It was actually my other knee that was hurt going into that fight. So I did have a healthy knee, you know. It was a real unfortunate situation that I blew my knee out, but I was able to push through and still get the victory on one leg, you know. It's not an excuse. It's a more power to me of pushing through that and saying, you know what, fuck you, I'll beat you on one leg, you know. But I mean, I know he's going to be bitter. It's a fight he thought he should have won. He's trying to push for the belt. And so, you know, I'll let him be the bitter guy because I'm over that, man. I'm too old and I've been in this game too long to be pissed off at a sport that was my job because it'll make me end up hating it. So, you know, I've gone through those drama situations. I've fought the Cody Garbrandts. I've had to deal with Dominic Cruz. And I've learned a lot through those fights that I actually fight better when I go in there with no anger and no animosity.
Did you feel like that in the past, like the animosity, like it consumed your soul and it made you into perhaps an unhappy person?
Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I mean, it would control your emotion for sure. I mean, this sport's crazy, man. All eyes are on us all the time, and that's a good and bad thing, right? Like UFC's done such a good job promoting us and making us so visual to our fans and our audiences, but it's also, you know, doing interviews and who you are as a person, and just you know, all that takes a toll, you know, and your family life at home. So those 2 years off actually really kind of grounded me with what I want my life to be, and then I'm actually comfortable with not being a fighter, even though I love it and I'm going to continue to do it and get my belt back. But you know, I'm fine. You know, I've set myself up financially to where I don't have to fight anymore.
You had big fights throughout your career. You will continue to have big fights, but considering the layoff and what happened in the Cejudo fight and all the talk and all the anticipation for your return, is it possible that you were more nervous for this Sandhagen fight than maybe some of the title fights back in the day because of everything that was, you know, talked about and everything that went into this return?
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. You know, being a mentally tough competitor, you kind of have to lie to yourself all the time. You know, like you always have negative thoughts that come in your head, but you just overpower them with positivity. And so, yeah, man, I was definitely, you know, nervous going into the fight, but I just wouldn't let myself be nervous, I guess, if that makes any sense. You know, just don't get my time to be nervous. Just work. I think that's maybe why I work so hard too, is just to get rid of the nerves, right? When you know you're that prepared, you're less nervous. So, yeah, I mean, sorry, long-winded answer to your question, but yeah, I was definitely nervous going into the fight.
Well, I wish I could do that, by the way.
A lot of pressure on me. Yeah.
How do you do that? Like I get nervous. I can't talk myself out of the nerves.
Yeah, I think it's just something that I've had to practice my entire life. You know, I never had to see a sports psychologist. It was just trial and error, you know, just competing since I was 8 years old. And dealing with nerves and, and even if you're not a competitor, dealing with ups and downs into your life. I mean, dealing with negativity is life in general, right? And just learning how to think about it positively, no matter what the spinoff is, right? No matter what situation, whatever hole you put yourself into, there's got to be some sort of positive outlook you can spin on it.
Right. Maybe there's a delivery person or someone at the door.
There is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a delivery person. Yeah.
I've been there as well. You were just saying before I interrupted you, I'm sorry, a lot of pressure on you. You felt a lot of pressure going into this fight?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was dealing with a lot of crap from the decisions I made, and understandably, but there's a lot to deal with and a lot to come back from. And, just a lot.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know how else to answer other than that.
Do you get worried that the decision that you made for that Cejudo fight, the EPO, is going to cloud the entire career and all your accomplishments, and that people will bring that up when they talk about Barao, when they talk about the rematch and all that stuff, which,
Not really.
You don't get worried about that?
No, because I know the truth. And I mean, if I'm going to sit here and worry about what every single person says, then I'm going to be a really unhappy person. Same reason we're always in the limelight. We have these fans, you have these haters, you have these negativity. Same thing I was already talking about, right? You got to be able to overcome that. And that's kind of like when we saying the hole you dig yourself into, that was my hole. And that's what I was talking about, right? Like learning to overcome that. And it was a tough one to overcome. The first 6 months, I think, were by far the hardest. I happened to be on top of the world, going to ridicule, and then also going through double shoulder surgery, sitting on the couch. I mean, that's probably the most depressed I've been in the 6 months of my life ever.
Wow.
So getting through that, and then going nowhere but up from there is helps with all that as well.
How did you get over the depression? Like, what did you do to make yourself feel better?
Start training again. That's why I said the shoulder surgery definitely didn't help with everything that was going on, because I went from, as soon as I found out I was getting suspended, I scheduled surgery, because I've been needing surgery for like the last 3 or 4 years while I was fighting. Shoulders dislocating all the time, but just kind of putting it off because you have big title fight after big title fight, and you don't have time to sit out for a year, but I knew I was going to have to be out for 2 years. So I got both my shoulders operated on. But it was also bad timing because, dealing with a lot of emotional stuff as well as sitting on the couch. I feel like if anyone's dealing with like depression or anxiety and things like that, I think physical activity and working out is the best medicine you can have. Screw all these prescription drugs you take and things like that. Actually get out there and challenge yourself and push yourself is the best thing you can do. And that first 6 months, I couldn't do that.
I couldn't agree more. Did you watch the sport at all, or did you need a break from it mentally? Like, would you tune into big fights or not at all?
I guess big fights and maybe fights that I had interest in for friends or teammates, right? Like I was coaching Juan Archuleta and some of the guys that were training at the gym and helping out with Cub Swanson getting ready for fights and things. So I'd obviously watch those. But even still today, unless there's like some sort of invested interest of who I'm going to fight or a friend that's fighting, I don't really watch fights. I'm not one to. For me, it's almost like taking work home with me. Mm-hmm. Having the feeling of walking out isn't something I feel like having while sitting on my couch.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And, okay. And so you have the surgery, and obviously you're coming off a win. Did they or did they not call? I mean, I don't know if they would, because they would know your status. Like, did they ask you if you'd be willing to fight, Jan, or did they know that you're not healthy, so there was no point, that call didn't even happen?
No, they knew. They knew I wasn't healthy. They obviously knew what surgery I had. I mean, their insurance pays for it. They know what's going on with me, right? Like I also just keep them in the loop. I have my manager Tiki keep them in the loop to know what's going on. It was going to be perfect. I was going to get back, get healthy, fight the winner between Jan and Sterling. That was the next fight. So now it's whoever's got the belt when I'm healthy.
Okay.
I went out there and proved myself. I was the one that vacated my belt. I didn't lose my belt due to a loss. I lost my belt due to the decision I made, and they had to vacate it. So when these guys are talking about they're feeling like they're going to be the true champion, even though he goes out and beats Jan, he's not, because Jan wasn't even the true champion. He never beat a champion at the bantamweight division to actually even become a champion. So there's never a real lying champion anyways. And now they're fighting for an interim belt. So I've already proved myself. I came back. I came off a 2-year layoff, fought number one contender. That title fight's mine when I come back.
Okay. And yes, that is what Corey said to us on Monday, that when I was asking him basically, some people get the interim title, they kind of throw it to the side. They say they're not the true champ until they win the undisputed belt. He said he viewed Jan as the true champ because of what happened with Sterling in March. And you're saying, and there's a strong case to be made, that you never lost the belt, that no one ever beat you for that title. And so what happened? So the timeline with the knee, just so we know, realistically, when could you fight again if all goes well?
I'd say March.
Oh, okay. So that's not too bad.
March, April, I mean, I'd say March would be the best case. I mean, making huge gains already. I'll be able to start doing super heavy strength conditioning and moving around, I'd say middle to end of November. Gives me time to get into a camp, get right back after it.
Okay, so then what happens? They have this fight on October 30th, and they may go to Aljo next. It doesn't sound like you want to fight anyone else, right? You want to fight for the belt next.
Oh, I don't even know if Aljo's ever going to come back, to be honest. From what he had done, to be honest, is kind of crazy. I mean, if I was him, I would have waited to get that done. My coaches, my strength and conditioning coach, as well as my wrestling coach that sells the medical equipment that did his neck, don't believe he's ever going to come back.
Really?
I think he's just holding on to this belt as long as he can and maybe try to soak up. I don't know that's just, I've had that feeling already. So when he pulled out of the fight, I wasn't surprised. I bet he's dealing with nerve damage. I bet he's dealing with a lot of stuff. I mean, you go get your neck cranked on with what he's got done. I mean, it's definitely not good. So we'll see. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I don't know if he's ever going to come back.
Wow. So you think it was a questionable decision to have the surgery when he did after that controversial? Should have had the fight with Jan, clear it up, and then do what you got to do.
Absolutely. I mean, you're on top of the world. You're the champion. You won it the way you did, but now you're going to start getting paid like a champion. You're going to have these big fights. Like, take advantage of them while you can, not go out there and get this neck surgery. I mean, I understand he's got the problem. He has the injuries. I mean, I was dealing with 2 blown out shoulders while I was a champion, but I wasn't willing to sit out for a year because I had big paydays. Like, let's be honest, I'm in this sport because I love it, but I've been in it for a long time. I'm in it for the money, man, and like I said, I don't need the money anymore. Now I'm in it for these big fights, these big paydays. And, I am the best bantamweight right now. I'm the best bantamweight, I believe, of all time. And I'm going to come back and get my belt back and be a 3-time champion. So that's where my goals are at. Right. But I just don't think he should have got the surgery.
I love this. And by the way, you don't hear a lot of fighters, especially, you're still relatively young. How old are you now? Mid-30s, right?
35.
35, yeah. Why don't you need the money, basically? Like, what have you done to put yourself in the position where you are comfortable to where you're not, going paycheck to paycheck like some other fighters at your age?
I've been very smart since day one, since I've been getting paid with the UFC. I've always known that this job is never secure, right? We don't have a 9-to-5 paycheck where I want a salary. I get paid when I fight. And, there's a lot of things that dictate when you fight: your health,
right?
Your opponent's health, the politics of who you're going to fight. There's just a lot of unknowns. And so for me, that makes me nervous, right? So when there's unknowns, like, I'm going to make sure I hold on to my money. I'm going to make smart choices. I'm putting away for retirement. For me, I was able to hold on my money and not buy a bunch of stupid shit and start businesses now that are paying me back. This residual income is paying me back from the businesses that I've started. I've just been really smart. I haven't been done with my paychecks. And I started this. I'm the area developer for Southern California for a company called Clean Juice.
Oh,
it's a organic cold pressed juice company. Do everything. We're the only USDA approved organic franchise in the nation. But we do juices, smoothies, sandwiches, wraps, all that good stuff. Like, a healthy spot kind of fits into my lifestyle. And now we're going to open 63 stores from San Diego to North LA to Palm Springs. And I'm the area developer for that, So there's a lot of big things in the works for me outside of fighting. It's going to take care of me forever.
Wow. What is it like for you to see some of your peers, some of your friends, former teammates? Like, we saw Joseph recently retire. Uriah seems to be done. Chad, he's going to do the BKFC thing. But like, the guys who you came up with, and not even just those guys, opponents, Hennon's out of the UFC, like, to see those guys that you came up with slowly but surely walk away, call it a career. What's that like for you?
I mean, it makes sense. This is a tough ass sport. It's a tough ass career to choose, right? I mean, you get more beat up training and practicing than you actually do in your fights.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I wouldn't say my last fight, but I'd say normally, you know. So, shoot, I mean, I've had 10 years in the UFC already. That's a long career, and that's why I can understand these guys going out. But I've taken care of myself. You know, I have done things the right way. I'm really strict on my diet. I'm very strict on my physical therapy and my strength conditioning to where I could fight another 5 years if I want to, you know? And we'll see. We'll see how the future lays out and what goals I continue to set for myself.
Do you want to fight till 40?
I don't know. I guess that's a great way is that I don't have to put a timeline on it. And I also don't have to say that I have to fight till I'm 40 because I need the money. Right. It's all about how I feel and what my career is doing and how I'm performing. If I guess my question would be, or my answer will be, is if I can't say that I'm the best bantamweight in the world or best whatever division I'm in, then I'll retire. You know, if I don't have a true chance of becoming a champion, then what's the point of chasing this? You know, especially when you don't have to do it for the paycheck.
By the way, one of the big fights that people wanted to see you in was you versus DJ back in the day. DJ was on the show last week. And I don't know if you saw, he's fighting this guy named Rotang, this Muay Thai legend, in this mixed rules fight. 1 round MMA, 1 round Muay Thai for 4 rounds. And I said, this is a crazy fight, DJ. And you didn't want to do the crazy fight with TJ back in the day. What changed? And so he offered, a different time, this and that. But did you know about this? And did you have a reaction when you heard about DJ taking this fight?
No, first of all, I mean, like I said, I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
I probably should pay attention a little bit more. But that's awesome because I mean, if he's doing that, hopefully he's getting paid very well for it. You know, I think his move has been great for him. I love seeing him and his family. He's got to make these smart moves right now and get the big payday so that he can, do the same as myself and set himself up for as long as he needs be. That he's not going to have to be. He's definitely not going to be one of those guys that you're going to be seeing fight too late because he's also smart with the way he trains. He doesn't get beat up all the time. He seems like he's on a good diet, good regimen all the time. And he always seems like he's pretty smart with his money. So he's never one of those guys you're going to see fighting too long,
right?
Which is very unfortunate to see.
He told us that he saw you in Disneyland and came up to you and after the Cejudo fight and confronted you. Is that true?
Yeah, he did. He saw me at Disneyland. He's like, what did he ask me? He asked me like,
why'd you do it or something?
What it feel? Yeah, he said me like, what it feel like or something. You know what I mean? Like asking me like how it felt or whatever. I was like, to be honest, it felt like fucking shit. I was down to 4% body fat and I was anemic, so I felt horrible to be honest. But it's pretty. That's what DJ is. Though he's so lighthearted. He's such a easygoing guy.
By the way, just curious before I let you go, what do you think of your old friend Henry Cejudo trying to fight for the 145-pound title? He's making the hard push. Do you think that he would be successful in that fight against Volkanovski?
I actually do think it's a good fight for him. Stylistically, I wouldn't say that like 45s is a great weight class for him for his stature and things like that, but Volkanovski is actually a great fight for him. And I do see that being a good fight for Cejudo. So, I mean, I'm not mad at him pushing for that because it could be a pretty interesting fight. It's a fight that I would watch. I don't watch many fights.
Right. Yeah, it would be big. Jose Aldo is fighting Rob Font, but he said he really wanted to fight you. If it's not for a belt, are you interested in that fight or are you only interested in title fights? Like if he wins against Font and then comes back and they say, hey, you can fight Aldo. We're going to do Sterling versus the winner of Sandhagen Jan. What do you think?
No, from what I've been told, I'm fighting for the belt next.
Okay.
No matter what that belt is. So that's kind of where my mindset's at right now. But shit, it's Jose Aldo. I mean, how could you say, Jose Aldo to me is an all-time legend. So it's hard to not think about taking a fight if it's offered to you. But I'm fighting for the belt next is what I've been told.
Who wins, Jan or Sandhagen?
To be honest, I think it's a little bit of a toss-up. Jan's got that grit. He's got that toughness. He's got that mental toughness, and he's pretty well-rounded. But Corey's flashy and dangerous on his feet. I can see it going either way. Depends on who puts the ball in their court. Jan does have that championship mentality, which I do think Corey's made a better improvement on his mentality, but I just don't think it's 100% all the way there,
Okay. TJ, I appreciate the time. I wish you a speedy recovery. Congrats on the return and overcoming everything in that fight. Unbelievable stuff. Thank you for always coming on the program and answering the questions, and looking forward to seeing you back in the first quarter, hopefully, of 2022.
Yeah, appreciate it, my man. Thanks for having me on.
Talk to you soon. There he is, TJ Dillashaw, the former bantamweight champion, and he said it right there.